Now, I've been paying attention to Newcastle and Tottenham quite a fair bit over this pre-season for a few different reasons. Coming into the upcoming 23-24 Premier League season, I'm really interested to see how Ange Postecoglou does at Spurs, for obvious reasons, being a Celtic fan and that. And for Newcastle, I'm just wildly excited to see how they do in terms of, trying to challenge the establishment. They finished top four last year. They've got Champions League on their plate this year. And I'm really just interested and curious to see how they're going to get on this year and how Eddie Howe and the team over there are going to try and, manage the wealth of resources at their disposal to achieve the best possible outcomes. And over pre-season, there's been a lot of ups and downs for both teams. Not necessarily downs for Newcastle, now that I say that necessarily, but I do think there's a real lack of activity, which we'll get into in the video, that might be coming back to bite them on the bum already. And with Tottenham, it looks like there's a new signing on the go that's going to make a big difference to them in the defensive line as well. At any point in the video today, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something, or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel. We're pushing for 10,000 subscribers before the Premier League season starts, and we cannot complete that miracle without your support. So if you enjoy the video, like, share it, retweet it, all that good stuff. Hit subscribe, drop a comment down below and tell me why I'm wrong about what it is that we're talking about today. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. The last two Newcastle videos we've done on the channel have been a lot of fun. A lot of these kind of went after me for the whole, basically you need another striker part of this team, as well as in the last one, I think it was off the back of a Chelsea, it was off the back of a friendly anyway. There's been a little bit of an adaptation to the shape. And with now Schär been out with a hamstring injury, Lascelles with a calf injury or something, for me, when we look at the Newcastle team at the moment, there is a real lack of defensive options at the moment, who's fit and available. Now, when I was actually trying to work out what I think the best team is going to be for the start of the season, based on pre-season to this point, in midfield, and really for this position here, the left midfielder, the right midfield, I guess all three midfield positions, as well as these support attackers, those 5 spots there, Newcastle have got like 2-3 bodies, like really decent options. A lot of guys that are like maybe 6, 7 out of 10, 1 or 2 that are maybe 8 out of 10. Really good caliber, really good quality, and their route to goal is very clear. And I like what they're building here, but it does feel at the back it is imbalanced, is probably the best way to put it. Matt Targett and Dan Burn are both really handy left backs. Of course, Dan Burn can play left centre back very formidably, but your big name centre back, League 1 winner Sven Botman, left-footed centre-back, very good at playing out on this side of the pitch here. This is the big spot where we've got all of our injuries. Kieran Trippier is, of course, talismanic right-back, captain of the team, etc. There's not that much strength and depth in this defence, and even the best 11 possible. I think the defence is clearly the weakest part of the team. And should anything happen to Isak, I know Callum Wilson, I know a lot of the Toon Army like him and all the rest of it, but I do still feel in this arrowhead position, in this actual attacker up here, you need a little bit more, I think, to fight on all these kind of fronts that we're at. But Newcastle have been in the market and have been doing some really good business. Harvey Barnes, of course, has been brought in recently, but the Toon are on the verge of completing the signing of Tino Livramento. Now, off the back of the friendly game we spoke about recently, I'm pretty sure it was the Chelsea friendly game, we spoke about how it looked like there was this kind of quasi, kind of lopsided 3-5-2 kind of effort on the go, where Trippier was playing more of a right-footed centre-back, and I forget the lad's name because there's a bunch of them going around, but his name was Murphy, who's playing more in this right mid position, and it was very much more right mid rather than right back. And, the shape was a little bit different, and there was some substitutions in the game. Burn did come on as well. And this isn't exactly how the team was laid out, but that was the kind of shape it went for. And some of you guys in Newcastle were coming at me in the comments section saying you're reading too much into this and all the rest of it. But for me, this is exactly where you play a Livramento. And I don't know how often this would be the shape and the tactics and whatever, but whoever's going to be the main centre-back, you could even just plug in Botman in here and get Burn in all of a sudden. And if all these guys are fit and available, that's like a pretty tidy kind of back 5 situation there. Livramento and Target can bomb on. Trippier is your ball player. And then between Botman and Burn, you've got 2 real enforcers there to really guard the back line, as it were. And then with all the options that are in midfield, and there is so many, from Andersons to Willock, we've got Gordon as well, who have now taken off screen. We've got Almiron, Harvey Barnes. There's a good bunch of options in those areas here. But it does feel like this is going to be a shape that probably will rear its head again pretty soon. And this is a shape that, depending on your vision and depending on how the match is a game state situation, really, because Livramento playing more, or that Murphy, who did it in the game we were mentioning, much more in a right mid position here. like in possession, this could easily still look like a 4 in the back. You know, if depending on the strength of your opposition, and you just push this guy much higher up, but he's got a lot more defensive responsibilities to come back. And then maybe on the other side, it goes a bit more lopsided, and you leave maybe your Almiron types up here with a bit more freedom to crawl into space and find the pocket to go and unleash the counter-attack with. So I do feel that it doesn't necessarily need to be a full-on, like, oh yeah, it's now a change of shape completely, but it's something that with the right personnel on the pitch, you'll probably see as a nice game state that Newcastle take up. And this kind of flexibility, I think, would be really important to them this season, because they do have quite a clear tactical shape and a real direct route to go in terms of pace, 1-2 touch passing. But I feel to keep up with expectations, it's just a little bit light. You know, if Burn was to get out of this picture here as well, there's just always a bit of defensive injuries, I feel, in this Newcastle lineup. When I look at the roster, it just feels like all these guys have got a bit of a niggle now and then for a bit too long. So I do feel that without a wee bit more reinforcements in defence, probably at centre-back, and without, another striker, it doesn't need to be a guy like, you guys were giving me penalties for saying Lukaku, but I'm talking about a guy that can stand up and lead a line, bash you 20-plus goals, be high-caliber value for money in that example. Whereas now, this all looks like it's ticking over really well. The team look like really a well-oiled machine. So you would look for more of a profile purchase, a guy that is very similar to Isak, very similar to Wilson, that is maybe, 18 to 21, more of a developmental one. And, would be quite happy to get like 8 starts over the season and maybe like a dozen appearances off the bench, in their first season. So I do feel that there is some purchases still to be done for this Newcastle team to compete on the levels that they're looking to. Now, Tottenham don't really have the same level of problem. Without European football this year, the main problem Tottenham have got is keeping a hold of Harry Kane, as well as trying to give Ange Postecoglou all the resources he needs to reform this Tottenham team in his own vision of playing gung-ho, attacking football at all costs. The latest from Kane is that he's kind of happy to run this last year out. It feels like he thinks that Ange will get him to score 30 or 40 goals this year, and that's probably A-okay by him, and he can walk next summer as a free agent. But I do feel that Tottenham will want to get some money. It feels like Bayern Munich are coming to the table and putting the money on it and saying, send him to Germany, we'll take him, no problem. I think Kane should go. I think there's a lot to be said for somebody like him going to the Bundesliga, becoming Ballon d'Or capable, being a Champions League winner. And for all the people that kind of like downplay, like, oh, my gran would win the Bundesliga if they were up front for Bayern, all that kind of nonsense. If you're a Harry Kane fan, you think Harry Kane's world class, really think about it. How many world class moments do you see from him a season, right? Multiply that by 3, and that's probably what's going to happen when he goes to Germany. And that's how players get better, is they have the opportunity to be better more often. They can push their limits, they can push their boundaries. And so it's one of those ones where if he does go, it's not really, the medals and the accomplishment, and then getting that habit of being in a winning mentality and being in a winning team. There's a lot of merit in, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely not to be downplayed because of the quality of the league or the team, because nothing else as football fans, think about how many times you'd see Lewandowski score 4 goals in a minute and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So if you're a football fan, if you're a Kane fan, then, it's one of those ones where I think it will work out pretty well for all. But it's been pretty clear from the preseason so far, Ange is sticking with Ange Ball, he's sticking with Ange, the philosophy of the system. New signing Maddison is very, very, very firmly established himself in here in the playmaker role, and it looks like he's really trying to keep a hold of Højbjerg.
Play!
Even though there was a lot of links to him leaving. Sarr, Yves Bissouma, even Skip, a few of these guys have been featuring in here. It's hard to work out exactly what the best midfield three alongside Maddison will be. Will Højbjerg leave? Will they sign somebody else? But the defence for Tottenham needed the biggest overhaul. That's where we've seen the most amount of faces coming and going. Destiny Udogie is coming on leaps and bounds. He's playing a lot. Pedro Porro and Emerson Royale are still kind of jostling it out, it feels like. But with Christian Romero locked in here, and it feels like now, imminently, the new signing for Tottenham is going to be the left-footed centre-back, Micky van de Ven. Now, he's been a high-value prospect on, European football circles for the last couple of seasons, and at 22 years of age, he's had two or three seasons at Bundesliga level for a kind of struggling Wolfsburg team, but the guy has got very good credentials. I've watched him a number of times, and I think he's got the the minerals to make the step up to the Premier League. And Ange Ball really does need capable defenders that are capable on the ball of controlling possession alongside their goalkeeper to really build up the play and see Tottenham going forward. And I think with them only having to focus on the league this year, like Tottenham, if they did keep a hold of Harry Kane with the addition of somebody as the quality in the standing as a Van de Ven, never mind what else might happen with some of these transfer sliding door moments that we might see throughout the rest of the window, namely with the likes of Højbjerg, Kane, and Tanguy and Ndombele, who's been linked away as well. I still think there's going to be a lot of moving pieces for Tottenham between now and the end of the transfer window, but the Van de Ven transfer getting plugged into this back four, me personally, I'm a big of a Pedro Porro fan, especially over Emerson Royale. But for me, this is the beginning of a Tottenham team that really could be the disruptors this year, where we're just talking about Newcastle finishing 4th last year and how impressive that was. With them having Champions League this year, and a lot of teams like Tottenham, Chelsea as well, they didn't have that success last year. Maybe it's their turn to maybe fire above their weight and get higher up the table. And I think just knowing the style of football that Tottenham will be playing under Ange, if they can keep a hold of Harry Kane and they can keep making really clever signings like Micky Van de Ven, Tottenham are going to be firmly in amongst it like a dog eating beetroot. So I'm really excited to see Van de Ven in the Premier League. I'm really excited to see Ange Ball kind of flesh out here for Tottenham. And, I'm excited for Newcastle, but I'm also a little bit nervous for them. I'd like to see them do a bit more business for all my friends that are in Newcastle that are obviously really excited for the season ahead. With the war chest of money that both these clubs have, I think they're going to be two of the biggest names, two of the biggest players for the remainder of the European transfer window. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this one. On screen there now is some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.